All right, guys, the truth about dating in Mexico City. Is it all a farce or is there some truth to it? We're going to dive into that today. Guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to MexPat Dating and now MexPat Dating 2. So Jaron, it's been a minute since we've done a live stream. How's it going?
It has been a little bit. Yeah, I feel a little bit rusty. It took a little bit on the technical side of things getting it all set up, but I think we're going to get back into the Mex here swimmingly and smoothly. So we are quite looking forward to it.
Yes. Guys, so just to give you a little intro here, if you guys are coming from my old channel, we have converted that to basically MexPat Dating 2. We're going to be talking about kind of the pros and I guess there's some cons too, but mostly the pros about dating in Mexico City. So Jaron and I, we both do dating consulting here in Mexico City, and we found a great passion for it. Today, we're really going to be diving into some of the things that we think are important for you to know if you're here in Mexico City, if you're planning to come down and take a trip, or start to live here. So these are things that are going to help you along your dating journey and be able to find success as fast as possible. So, so Jaron, why don't you start off, introduce yourself, and tell us why you chose Mexico City for your dating journey.
Yep. So my name is Jaron. I've actually been living on and off in Mexico, the country, for the last 20 years or so. So when I was 19 years old, I had the opportunity to come down and play baseball for a couple of seasons at a university through which I enrolled as a Mexican student. I learned Spanish very quickly, had a very good time doing that, let's just say. And that got me on the dating path very quickly, the dating in Mexico as a foreigner thing, like 20 years ago, back when no one was really doing this kind of stuff. Certainly there were people here. There's a large expat community in Guadalajara where I was at the time, but YouTube, I don't even think existed yet when I was down here before. So I'm kind of one of the OGs down here. I'd gone back and forth between Mexico and the US a couple times during the pandemic. Like many people, my job prospects did not look that great. So I took a very kind of not really spur of the moment decision, but a drastic decision to sell all my stuff, come back to Mexico. And ultimately what I ended up doing, I made a list of things that I look for in a city. So I've lived all over the place. I've lived in cities that are flat where it rains all the time. Turns out I don't like flat. Turns out I don't like cities that are super hot nor super cold. So these are just a couple examples. I made a list of like 10, 12 bullet points and then started doing my exploratory trips, popped around different places to see what cities fit the bill. And then surprisingly, Mexico City, I think it hit 10 out of the 12 items of things I was looking for in cities, such as good cuisine, green spaces, spring-like weather year-round, large population density for the dating type things, and so on. So I pulled the plug on the U.S. 4 years ago, a little more than 4 years ago, and came to Mexico City and have been here since full time. And that is where Joel and I crossed paths. So you can go ahead and take it on over from there.
Yeah, guys, can you just comment down below if the audio is cutting out? Jaron, I'm having like you're from on my end, you're cutting in and out, so I just want to make sure that the audience can hear you well. So if you guys could just let us know, or if I'm cutting out. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, for myself, I grew up in a very small town in Wisconsin, and so for me, also being Asian, dating was something that always eluded me. And it caused me a lot of pain. Not that I'm the victim, but I experienced a lot of pain and suffering from not knowing how to properly date and how to be able to attract a woman. And what I found out as I grew up is that I got into moments in my life where I had some social success, and I was able to. I had girlfriends, right? Like I was in the popular cliques in school, but I just didn't understand that I could just ask them out. I was like always waiting for them to reach out to me. And in turn, I never really got to establish a dating life. And so, if you guys are coming from Sobriety University, that led to a lot of addiction, a lot of moments of darkness. And I was able to come out of that with a lot of work. And I decided, okay, look, I got my inner self a lot more together. I'm not in dire straits anymore. So I got to start working on this dating thing. And so a few years ago, I really started to focus in on how I can create a great dating life. I actually, okay, looks like my audio is a little muffled, but let's see if it can correct itself here. So
yeah, hopefully we're okay.
So for myself, thanks James for pointing that out, by the way. So for myself, I actually hired Jaron initially for a call, and that's where we started doing live streams together. And I think I just got closer to the mic. And then I decided to come down. And one of the big reasons I wanted to come down was for dating. I checked out Poland last year, and it was fantastic. And I ended up coming home, just kind of work on my money and stuff. And then I decided, Jaron and I was doing his videos. So he's like, hey, you're welcome to come stay with me. And kind of what we're going to dive in today is how quickly my dating life turned around. And Jaron's as well, just from coming down here. Like in a matter of weeks, I was dating multiple women. It was fantastic, like girls that, you know, would have been the top girls at my high school. And I was just like, what is going on here? This is crazy. So I know a lot of you guys are probably from the West, maybe in the United States. And we won't go too deep into that today, but there's some cons about that. And I'm sure you guys have experienced that for yourselves. So we're really going to, you know, unpack all that today. Next, we're going to dive in. So hopefully, yeah, by the end of this, you can have a better idea of why coming to Mexico and dating might be beneficial for you. So who do we help? What kind of guys do we help? Jaron, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, we help guys just like ourselves. So as I mentioned in my little intro, I was living in California, working in the tech industry, fintech type spaces, and I actually had a really good dating life there. So for me, it wasn't like I have to escape the US because I don't have dating success in the US. To the contrary, I did very, very well. But for me, I always realized that the way I sum it up to guys is that you put in a lot less effort on the front end and you get a much larger return. And then, of course, there's a multiplier too. So putting in less effort, not a lot of the headaches, the hangups, or the ghosting and flaking. Yeah, some of that does exist here, but you learn how to screen that out in the initial stages of the prospecting process. So that doesn't really come up too much anymore. But for me, it was just a much more vibrant, rich, and fulfilling dating life in Mexico as compared to Southern California, which is where I was living before. So any guys, if you make, you know, over 90K a year, 100K a year, you're a digital nomad, you're an expat, you're looking to become an expat, you're an entrepreneur, usually guys that work in marketing, sales, some sort of tech, things along that nature, because to live abroad full time, you do need to have some source of online income. But that's not to say you can't do it the traditional job. We've helped guys that work on the hybrid model too, to where maybe they're physically pegged to a specific location in the US, but they take trips down to Mexico, here in Mexico City, every month, every quarter, for whatever duration of time they're looking to do. So really, we help all sorts of guys in those types of situations, but we do typically prefer to work with guys that, again, are just kind of like us, just regular guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what we found with all the guys that we work with is they're the coolest guys. You know, they become our friends because it takes a certain mindset to be able to say, hey, I got to look at myself in the mirror and I got to go out and do very hard things, very things that, you know, let's be honest, 99.9% of men in the history of humanity have never done. We're in a very lucky time where we can learn this stuff through online, through getting outside support, consultations, etc. It's your job, though, as a man to say, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to face this fear and I'm going to face it every day. Cold approach is one of the hardest things you have to do. Getting over that approach anxiety. Now, again, it's approach anxiety. It's not approach talking. So what we find is when guys start to actually converse, it's not a big of a deal. And online dating too, like you got to go through that struggle of realizing that a lot of girls you swipe on aren't going to swipe on you back, right? So there's a bit of humility that comes. Most of them, yep. 1 in 10 is a pretty good ratio. So there's a humility aspect that comes into line. So those are the guys we work with. We work with guys that are very motivated, very hungry for to better their lives, and in turn, they often do financially well for themselves because it takes one to be disciplined with their life to create a lot of wealth for themselves. So like Jaron said, like we work with specifically with guys who are in that 100+ K range, just because we know that they're gonna show up every day. They're not gonna make it difficult. They're not gonna complain. They're not gonna be like, oh, why am I doing this? They're just gonna show up and get to work. And so if you are one of those guys, man, we welcome you to the channel. And if you're not one of those guys and you're on the path of becoming one of those guys, we encourage you as well. And we definitely invite you to continue coming to the channel. We're going to start doing regular live streams again, now that we don't care about the YouTube algorithm anymore and whatever. But yeah, we'd love to get to know you and help you along your journey to become a person that shows up every day for themselves and does what is important.
And one thing to mention too on that. So one of our clients that we have retained in the last year or so, he has a really cool idea of what he wants to do in Mexico City. So if you come down here, whether you already live down here, you think about living down here, if you visited before, if you haven't, or if you're just starting off your exploratory trips, you will realize very quickly that there are a lot of foreigners here. They are concentrated to specific neighborhoods. We do not live in one of those neighborhoods, since I like to be amongst the Latins. However, a lot of the guys coming down, which is why I preface this point with my point of we're looking for tech guys, fintech guys, someone who derives their income mostly online and that makes at least 6 figures or above, because that is a group of guys we hang out with. So we know a bunch of guys here. They're looking to cultivate a social scene for these digital nomad, digi bros, fintech bros, whatever you want to call it, for lack of a better word. The verbiage is always changing for what you call people like us. But at the end of the day, there is a very vibrant, up and coming tech and business and online sales, marketing, creative scene going on here as well. So outside of the dating, just come down and check it out and tap into that. And then by extension of that, you improve your dating odds substantially, because obviously when you create a buzz around what it is you're doing, then women are obviously going to notice.
Yes. Well said, man. This is the spot, man, and it's growing. It's a hidden gem for sure. Again, like Jaron said, a lot of the people we hang out with are in the space, the entrepreneurial space, and yeah, if you're one of those guys, man, we can't wait to connect with you. So let's dive into our first point of topic here, and it's going to be abundance of women that are not westernized. And I think we'll kick this off with a comment from James here. Do you think some guys build up a sense of entitlement when they go to easier countries than, for dating? Now, my opinion on that, and we're going to dive into, I think, to your point, what easier means. I would say, James, yes. And I've had to go through moments of humbling. I think the universe always puts you right size. So there's moments where I've been, dating 6, 7 girls at a time. I'm like, oh my God, I'm king. And then a month will go by where I don't have very many dates. So I think the universe will check your ego if you let yourself get too, full of yourself. So that entitlement, and that's why, like, we with our consulting and stuff, we really help guys kind of see things from a human perspective and really from a spiritual perspective too, because dating is spiritual. There's a lot of psychology involved. So, if you have to have a sense of confidence about you, right? Knowing that, hey, I can date a woman that I like if I choose. I think where it gets into entitlement is where I think you can tell if you start getting angry if a girl rejects you, if you don't get the date, and it's like, what the fuck? When you start getting into that chitter chatter in your head, that's when I think entitlement is taking over. What are your thoughts on that, Jaron?
Yeah, a couple quick points to unpack there. So in terms of easier countries, I understand that there's countries that are easier than others. So for example, I was in Turkey recently, Muslim country, not the easiest country in the world as compared to, per se, a Philippines or Thailand or even Colombia, although I've heard that's changing. But one thing I used to tell myself when I went to university here, I had trained my brain to think that, okay, I can do really well with women in Mexico, but I can't do well in the US. And for whatever reason, I held out self-talk for years and years. And then at some point, I realized it was a transferable skill. So yes, I've obviously done better in Latin America than the US, but I've gone back and forth over the years. So I found myself at a point where I was living in Southern California, and I was actually doing really well there too. Why is that? Because you learn these transferable skills to the point where, okay, well, if I can see an attractive woman walking down the street, open her in Spanish, run her through the sequences and the processes, and eventually get something going out of that situation, and do that multiple times, and so I have multiple data points and multiple experiences, then there's no reason I shouldn't be able to do that in my home country, in my native language. So I think, yeah, some countries are quote unquote easier than others, but what you'll learn, what you really want to do, take advantage of that, is you build the confidence, you build the skill set, and you build momentum. So when I go back to the US and if I get crappy attitudes or anything along those lines, or, oh, what do I get out of this? Oh, we're just going to watch the sunset, walk on the beach. We're not going to go to a 5-star restaurant. Like, nope. Like, I'm just not interested in entertaining those types of women. Why? Because I have high quality women where I live in Mexico. And I think embodying that attitude when I travel abroad. I was in Poland recently too, to where some of the most gorgeous girls I've seen in my life, not only did I not have to approach them, they approached me. I was just going about my normal day and they'd come up and all shy and coy, hand behind the back, like, hey, I'm Anna. Can I talk to you? I'm like, well, turns out you're already talking to me, Anna. So yeah, let's go ahead and make something happen here. So I think it's just that confidence that you carry over, having put in the reps, having taken the L's, getting some wins. Dating is a game of rejection. I played baseball growing up. I played baseball in college down here in Mexico. It is a game of failure. If you're batting over 300, you are in the Hall of Fame as a career 300 plus batting average. So dating's kind of the same way. Again, as Joel mentions, roughly 1 out of 10. Sometimes that ratio will be less, sometimes it'll be more, but roughly it's about that. It is a game of failure. And if you've ever played sports before, if you've worked in sales before, or any sort of online marketing, anything related to that, you kind of already have that built in. So again, what you do is that you get in the reps, you take your hacks, you'll get a bunch of L's, you'll start getting some wins, and then you figure out, okay, well, how did I get these wins? And you reverse engineer that and you streamline the process to where pretty much you walk out realizing that, okay, if I want to meet a woman today and again, make something happen out of this interaction, I can do it 100% without fail. Yes, you will get rejected. Yes, you don't get fake phone numbers here, but you might get ghosted, or you might get flaked on, or you get the, oh, I have a boyfriend, but still you're going to make the girl's day by talking to her. And what that does is when you get those wins under your belt and you have these data points of what a successful conversion looks like, then you realize you can do that anywhere in the world. And I think here within the last couple of years, again, I fell in that camp. Oh, well, it's so easy in Mexico, but it's much more difficult everywhere else, to the point where I realized, no, it's pretty much easy anywhere I go in the entire world. You do have to take some of the cultural nuances into consideration when you're going to countries outside of the US or Mexico or Latin America. But usually within a day or two, you can figure it out, and then you just get things moving again.
Yep. And it starts with, getting those wins, getting those losses. To James' question, how does one not build up that sense of entitlement? I think it's not settling, and I think it means also continuing to level up your game. So for example, you might come down here and you might be doing really well, and you might start to go like, hey, you know what, maybe I want to date higher quality women. And in terms of higher quality, meaning higher quality for you, right? Maybe more in line with your personality, your values, looks, whatever it might be. When you go back out there and start to take on that new challenge, you won't just hit it out of the park right away. You might get some beginner's luck, but there's going to be a calibration sense. So for me, that's what I found, is that as I level up my own game and what I want in a relationship, because I'm looking for something longer term, that it means that I'm going to get more rejections. I'm going to get more no's. I'm going to get more girls that I really like that don't like me. And every time I do that, I realize, okay, like I'm not the Mr. Alpha Super Chang or whatever. I'm just a normal guy that is just going out and trying to
Chang and Chad catch his headline in EDC. Yeah.
Yeah, man, we're playing live this year. I think Shane's got that title though. He's, if you haven't checked out Shane's channel, really awesome dude. But anyway, I think
definitely a Chang.
Yeah, definitely a Chang. So I think, yeah, getting out there and realizing that, you know, you're just a normal person. You're just a normal human being, and you start to become grateful for your dating life, and that's something that started to develop for me as well. It's not anymore like, oh, I'm doing all this work, I need to have 10 girls in my rotation, blah blah blah, I deserve this. No, it's like, hey, if a girl wants to see me, it means there's a connection, and I can be grateful for that connection, because for most of my life, I didn't have that connection with women, and it was very sad. So, James, I hope that answered your question. Feel free to ask some more follow-up if you want to dive into that a little more. Coming back to an abundance of women that are not westernized, coming to point number one here. Now, that is probably the thing I've noticed most, and is been why I continue to say here. The difference in attitude and personality from someone from the West versus someone from a more traditional country like that has been unbelievable. I know for sure in the States, you know, you get because things are so abundant, people can make money pretty easily. And this is no fault, I think, to the women. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, how dare they? But because things are so easy in the West, including the UK, including Australia, a lot of women don't need men anymore like they used to. Right? They don't need to have relationships. They can really take care of themselves, which has a lot of pros. Now, the cons are that when you do get in a relationship with someone that is from one of those Western countries, it can be a little more difficult to find that connection. So, Jaron, take us away and how that works.
Yeah, and that's actually precisely what we help guys. You know, guys, if you're watching, you come down here and work with us at some point. A lot of times it's navigating those cultural nuances or those intercultural differences, because guys come down with a playbook of how dating should be in the US, and they try to apply it to a Latin country, and it doesn't quite work that well. There are some major cultural differences. There's obviously linguistic differences. I always use the example that English is great for logic and science and things of that nature, whereas Spanish is much more emotive. And by virtue of that, or as a byproduct of that, the women are a lot more emotional. You'll also notice that culturally, they're a lot more sociable. Even little things like you show up to an event, you stand up and you greet every single person in the room. Even at doctor's offices, which always weirded me out. You get in and you say, ah, buenos dias, buenos dias, buenos dias, to everyone in there. And then when you leave, you go and dismiss yourself from every single person in there. And you'll notice that a lot of these girls too, when they go out, yeah, maybe they'll do girls' nights, but they always go out in mixed companies. It could be their male coworkers, brothers, cousins, friends. They have large, very large social circles. And again, as a byproduct of just being more sociable in general, I think it's a lot easier because they are built to have relationships. They are also a lot more feminine. They come from more conservative or traditional families. Obviously, you know, Catholicism being the major religion here, but over the generations, over the lines, there typically is more defined gender roles, whereas dad's the man and mom's the wife. That is changing, especially in the major cities. We're in Mexico City, which is the largest city in Mexico. So I say Mexico City kind of feels like the US mainstream culture in the 1990s. So girls are a little more liberal than they used to be, at least 20 years ago when I lived down here before. But they're still not as extreme in the sense of, okay, well, we're both equal and 50-50 or things of that nature. And again, it's not a critique, it's just an observation. But for guys that want a more traditional feminine woman, Mexico definitely offers that. And it's to the point to where, yeah, it is a little more liberal than it was decades ago, at least in my view or what I've experienced. That is kind of nice too, because now you don't have to wait till marriage and ask dad for her hand to, you know, move things along from an intimacy perspective. It's still not like the US to where, although I've actually found that the US, it seems like people aren't getting intimate as much as they did. For example, when I was in college, you go to a music festival or things of that nature. Going to Coachella as a kid, it was guaranteed. Like everyone's going to hook up. And now people don't really do that at music festivals anymore. Diverting from the main point a little bit, but it really comes back to culture and conditioning. And down here, women like men. And another cool thing too, and Joel, I know you're going to laugh at this, but I always think in my head, going back to James's entitlement comment, and I wouldn't say it's entitlement, it's just, again, observation, is that you don't have a lot of competition down here. A lot of guys aren't into self-improvement. They aren't into making money. They're not into starting and scaling businesses. They're not into building nice physiques. They're not into, you know, simple things like skincare, having a healthy diet. A lot of them just like to drink and go out and party every night that they have free. Yes, they work very hard down here, but they're not very efficient. So they don't make a lot of money. And whatever little money they do have, they go and spend it on booze or parties or things of that nature. So just by virtue of coming down here, if you already got a head up on the competition in your home country, you're like, okay, I'm a pretty well put together guy. I've got a solid head on my shoulders. I've got everything. I've got all my ducks in a row. Yeah, there's things I can work on, but when just you have that mindset and you come down here, women take notice of that very, very quickly, because once more, there's not a lot of competition from the local market, or that's at least what I tell myself. And in my experience, I seem to be correct in that assertion.
100%, man. We won't rip on Mexicans today, but there's definitely some cultural differences and behavioral differences too. And most of all the guys in our network are expats, guys from either the UK, the States. And it's because of that mindset. One positive of the United States is that we've learned how to go out and make something for ourselves. A lot of people have. So that attitude is an attitude that Jaren and I both look for in our network and guys we work with. So yeah, the fact that like nobody does that, like you come down and you like smile and they're like, oh my God, like you don't have to do that much. Like, especially if you're, just the American, what do you call it? The stamp of approval gets you up like a point or two easy. Whenever I tell a girl in cold approach, she's like, where are you from? And I'm like, I always say guess, because it's like fun. Like, I don't know, China, obviously.
Yeah,
like, no,
you're Chino. Doesn't matter what Asian you are. You're all Chino.
Yep. I guess Korean a lot, actually, which is kind of impressive.
Well, you do look Korean.
I am Korean. that would make sense.
That would do it.
I grew up with all white people, so like I can't even tell the difference. But anyway, they guess, and then I'm like, now I'm from Estados Unidos, United States, and their eyes just light up. They're like, oh my God, like holy shit, like he's not from Mexican dude. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they have that intrigue and that curiosity that you often don't get when you date in your same culture. So who knows? Maybe Mexicans come to the U.S. and they do better. Maybe they go to some Poland or whatever, and that's where they really shine. But what I know is that in Mexico City, foreign guys do very well, and also we're a lot taller too. So we got that going for us too.
Contrary to popular belief, this used to be a recurring notion years ago. I don't really hear it much anymore, but a lot of guys just say like, oh, well, be careful that she just wants a green card. She just wants to marry you and go back to the U.S. I don't think I've come across any girls I've dated here, but no, maybe a handful that eventually, you know, they got, after dating me, they got another gringo boyfriend, eventually went to the U.S. I think maybe I know 3 girls in my 4 years that I've been here, but most of them are completely happy with their lives here. They have no desire to go to the U.S. or live in another country. You'll also notice too that in Mexico, there is a bit of a class or a caste system. So the upper middle class girls and above typically prefer Western guys or guys that speak English or from other countries because they have a higher academic pedigree or just a higher degree of education. They are worldly. A lot of them have studied abroad in other countries. They speak multiple languages and they want just kind of a higher culture, which again, by virtue or by way of being a foreigner down here, you show up and you already kind of have that proof going along with you. Like it's pretty obvious just by looking at me. I probably speak English. Most girls assume that, and they would be 100% correct, although I speak Spanish quite well too. So you definitely have that going for you as well. And then I know we're not supposed to talk about stereotypes, but there are positive stereotypes. And one is that we treat our women well. As you've likely heard through other stereotypes, that there is kind of a machismo culture here. That is changing, but there's still a lot of holdovers from the previous days of traditional machismo Mexican culture. And a lot of these modern women who are highly educated, who have the money to travel the world, they don't like that. They're not into that anymore. They want a guy who's a little more cultured and I guess a little more progressive, but again, not to the point of being extreme by any means. Then also Mexico has a very robust growing economy right now. So for years and years, it was always known that Mexico didn't have a middle class. Most of the wealth was concentrated in a very finite percentage towards the top, and most people lived below the poverty line. That's not the case anymore. That's becoming the case actually in the U.S., but in Mexico, the middle class is growing, and people are moving up into the higher social classes. So definitely, like, provides us foreign guys a myriad of options here. Women are interested in us, which again makes it a lot easier when you go up in public to a girl, just smile your pearly whites at her. And you know, even if she has a boyfriend, even if she's married, she's not gonna give you an attitude like, I can't believe you had the gall to approach me. What do you think you're doing? You're still gonna make her day. It's still going to be a positive interaction. And even if it doesn't move forward, you have that nice energy exchange, which is, again, I'm all about momentum. That's going to carry along with you into the next interaction with women.
Yes. 100%, man. It's you guys got experience it for yourself, like that. Just desire in the eyes, right? And yeah, like they said, like sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I got a boyfriend, I'm sorry, but they'll be apologetic about it. They won't be like, I have a boyfriend, like, what are you doing? They'll be like, hey, I'm really sorry, like, thank you so much, like, but they'll be polite around that. Yeah.
It's like, hey, let's exchange Instagram so we can keep, oh, we live in the neighborhood. Oh, we go to the same gym. Oh, I see you here. Oh, it seems like we're at the same mall. Like, hey, we're neighbors, let's go ahead and exchange Instagrams, best of luck in your relationship. Let me know if anything changes. And you know what? A lot of times they will let you know when things change.
Yeah. That was my go-to. I say, hey, look, it sounds like you beat me to it, but if anything changes, let's exchange Instagram and let me know. And you can usually get an Instagram. I've actually stopped doing that just because I'm like, yeah, whatever, like, move on to the next. But yes, that is absolutely the way to do it. So that kind of leads into point number 2, which is cost of living. So the second truth about dating in Mexico. What advantage do we have coming down here is that things are a little bit cheaper, right? Especially in the States. I went back to see my parents like, I don't know, like 4 months ago. Went to McDonald's, a large fry was $5.50. Like, what the fuck?
It should be 99 cents.
Just fries. Yeah. It blew my mind. And so, Jaron, you've lived here way longer than I have. What have you noticed about cost of living? Obviously, we have a nice apartment here. Kind of, can you give us a little tutorial on that and stuff?
Yeah, across the board, actually, when I mapped out my finances, I spend roughly 20% of what I spent for the same exact lifestyle in California. Although I don't have a car here, I'm looking at getting one here. It's sometime soon, but roughly 20%, same exact lifestyle, high-rise condo, floor-to-ceiling windows, beautiful view of the city, multiple bedrooms, all the amenities. Yeah, my rent alone is about 20% of what it would be in California for a comparable place. I think I got a nice place here, but what I'm paying here, you would not find anything in California even if you went to like the most slummiest of slums, like the grossest ghetto, you won't find a place for the price point that I'm paying per month in rent here. It's also a benefit too, tax wise. If you are at least in the US, you get the foreign earned income exemption. The last couple of years, they had required some more documentation from me. They want to know, like, have you been in the US less than 30 days? So save all your airline ticket stubs in a spreadsheet, open it up, track all your travel dates, your dates in and out of the US. But that essentially what it does is it gives you no tax burden for your first 120K of income. So if you cap your income, you know, if you're passing through a salary to yourself through, you know, I'm not well versed in this, but like LLC, S Corp, C Corps, whatever, 10K a month, you're living very, very well in Mexico. You don't need more than 10K a month.
No,
I think we went out last night, Korean barbecue. I think my girl and I, we each had a couple drinks. We each ordered a couple platters, a couple soups, and it was a nice restaurant. I think with the tip on top, it came out to like 80, 90 bucks. Before that, we went and got some cocktails at a high-rise restaurant on the 56th floor. It is one of the Instagram essential restaurants that if you follow any remotely attractive girl here, like that is like how she kind of flexes on other girls. They go to the specific restaurant. Had a few cocktails, craft cocktails, got some presentation, you know, some fancy ones, got some light entrees. And I think this is a 5-star restaurant for that $100 flat. Whereas when I still lived in the US, I mean, Applebee's or TGI Fridays, that would easily run up to $100 tab. And hell, now, last time I was back in the US, I don't spend a lot of time in the US, again, for those tax reasons. And also, there's really nothing in the US for me. I have a much better life here. So I have no reason to go to the US unless it's for business or to see my family for a few days, which I'll be home for Christmas. So I'm sure you are too. We'll report back on that. But yeah, same thing. I think last time I ordered from like a taco shop in San Diego. By the time you get all the fees put on there, like DoorDash, it comes to your house, it's $40 for a burrito. It's insane. For $40 here, if we got into one of the apps right now and ordered $40 worth of food, that would be a feast. That would be enough to feed like and then some
6 people.
Family.
Yep. Fogo de Chao. We have a Fogo de Chao here, which is a Brazilian steakhouse. Total bill comes out to $40. I go there once a week. Like you can eat steak for like 8 hours. Like they won't kick you out. That's $40. It's absolutely insane. It's dude, like God, my parents took us out for dinner when I was back home, and it was like we each got like a small thing of meat. We went to like this barbecue place. It was like $100. I felt bad. Like I felt guilty. I'm like, dude.
You know, my family goes out at home. It's like $300 to $500. And again, they don't have to be nice restaurants here. That same meal, it'd be a bill. It'd be about a bill, unless you go to like a 5-star restaurant. They do have some really nice restaurants here in Mexico, and depending upon what you order, you can rack the bill up. But it's just a general rule. You spend a lot less here. And then, of course, I like to travel too. So when you travel within Mexico, Mexico is very accessible by public transportation. They have a good bus network. They have ample public transportation here in Mexico City. And then they have a lot of budget airlines that operate domestically. So it's $50 to $100 to get across the country round trip based on whatever dates you're looking at and how you schedule your flights. It's not expensive at all. You can have a very, very high quality lifestyle for not such a high salary. And that actually brings me to a point too. When I was in California, I got to the point like, okay, if I'm not making at least $250,000 a year, I just get like, you just can't live well there. And again, I'm not a big spender by any means. So when I came to Mexico, I was like, okay, well, I was like, what I can do is I can actually accept half of what I need in California and still get ahead and then take on projects and clients that I enjoy working with. I can do things that are fun. They're going to help me upskill things that, okay, yeah, I can't do creative type work in California. I need to be more like a director or above level to just pay the bills and have some semblance of a decent lifestyle. Here, it's like, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, this isn't going to pay the most on this project, but it's something really fun. It's really creative, and it's something that's going to help me in the future with other creative or academic or professional pursuits I decide to take on. So you give yourself a lot of breathing room, and then I have room for hobbies too. I got back into music. I spend more time at the gym. I cook every single meal. I go to the market every day, buy fresh vegetables, fruits. I go to the butcher. They trim all the fat off of this nice organic grass-fed meat, and again, it's a fraction. Oh, food is so dirt cheap here. Like I don't even really budget it. Like at the market. Yeah. You know, I'm going to cook a dish tonight. $15, fresh veggies, fresh fruits, a kilo of fresh beef, like 99% lean. The Argentinian butcher literally trims every ounce of fat off of that thing. So it's just big, beautiful red chunk of beef. So again, really the main point driving it home, if you haven't gotten it by now, is that you get a lot more for a lot less. And that does translate to dating as well.
Yep. Couldn't have said better myself, man. We, if you guys go to our channel, we've done I guess a testimonial series with one of our ex-clients. His name's Amir, and he makes a lot of money. And we were talking about this yesterday. He spends about $5,000 a month on bills, and that's, you know, if he travels a lot in that month, it'll go up to like 10K. He's got a private chef. He eats out pretty regularly, like, you know, he has nice dinners and stuff. But yeah, he only spends 5K a month, right? And he makes significantly more than that. So we were talking, it's like at this point, man, like he's like, okay, now it's time to start building generational wealth. So you get that opportunity here. You get the opportunity to earn really good money because you're kind of forced to work online. So you're going to improve your business. You're going to improve your entrepreneurial skills. And then you get to save a lot of that too, because you're not spending $5 for a French fry. You eat healthier, so you're happier. The food goes through you a lot quicker. When I go to the States, I get bloated as a motherfucker.
I get clogged up. It's so uncomfortable.
It's terrible, bro. Last time I came back. I had like I couldn't shit for like 3 days. Anyway, yep. Side note.
Every time I go to the US, yep, 2 or 3 days.
In and out. Yep. One day. So that's some of the benefits of at least financially, and obviously we can do more podcasts specifically on that. But hey, what's up, Amir? Speak of the devil. So this is the guy talking about. Yeah, he's crushing in Mexico. He's got a great girlfriend, and it's just like life's just rolling. And it all came from the decision to come down to Mexico and really give it a shot. So, you know, and
hire Jaron and Joel.
Well, that's the important part there, of course. Yeah.
That was
could never have done it by himself. Yeah. But he did great, man. He's got that attitude. He's got that mindset that I want to do better. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And he got to work right away. And now pretty drama-free life. So it's inspiring to us as well. So what's up, Amir? Thanks for tuning in. So,
Joel, you did mention just a more active lifestyle in general. And a big part of that, like we are early December right now. It's nice out. It was actually kind of warm out today. No snow, no wind. I had someone tell me the other day there's a wintry mix in the US, which is like rain, sleet, hail, just kind of snow all mixed together. But the weather here, spring-like climate year round. Vitamin D. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so I did get seasonal affective disorder. It hit me very hard. After a few days of being home here at Christmas, after day 2 or 3, I just won't feel like doing anything. I'll just kind of lay around. I'll start to overeat. I'll start to let my diet slip, my training slip. That it does affect me personally. And I'm sure for a lot of guys out there that live in kind of crappier climates, you likely have experienced something similar. But here in Mexico City, that doesn't really happen. And in Mexico in general, the reason people come down here, especially from the US or Canada, because it's, you know, just a quick flight away, is that the weather's nice. Now, dude. The negative part of that in Mexico City, we are very high elevation, and there's these nice mountains all around us. So we exist in a valley and high population density. So there's a lot of air pollution. During the rainy season, that gets knocked out every day. I do get stuffed up every now and then, but I don't get the allergies like I did in the US when things are in bloom, or at the end. I grew up on a farm, so end of harvest and everyone's burning the crops. Terrible allergies, but I will get stuffed up every now and then. That is from the air pollution. But usually Mexico City weather, it's similar to California weather. I think maybe 1 or 2 weeks a year in California, I need AC, like when we got a heat wave, which it really never actually got that hot. In Mexico, it never really gets that hot. In Mexico City, it doesn't get that hot temperature-wise. However, the UV index is very, very high. So if you log on and in my browser, it's all in Spanish. When I log on to work in the morning, it'll say UV, and it'll actually have different breakdowns for different skin tones. Since I'm white, it's just always 10. It's just like, it's always extreme. Always wear sunblock on your face. I'm usually a little bit red. I don't tan. I don't have to. It's just, I work with this window and the sun just kind of cooks you a little bit. But I definitely don't complain about the vitamin D. It just makes for a happier, healthier lifestyle in general. And the weather, yeah, of course, is fantastic.
Oh, bro, that's why I was so excited to come down when you invited me. Because I'm from Wisconsin, so it's just like right now, my dad was sending us photos, just snow. I'm just like, dude. Like, F that, man. Here, it's beautiful. Like last Christmas, I was here on Christmas and it was 70 degrees and sunny. Went to the park, was out the whole day. You do get a nice tan. It's really nice. And yeah, I think that's a good point you mentioned about the seasonal affective disorder. It's like, God, I remember just growing up, like, and the winter would come rolling around. I'm like, dude, here comes the depression. Life just got sad, and like, all I wanted to do was just like lay on my couch and watch TV. And now it's like, dude, like every day I can do something cool. I can go out, I can go for an adventure. If you guys come down, you'll just see the weather is fantastic. And yeah, I would say there's a rainy season in the summer. Like once summer hits, it was pretty intense this year because there was a drought last year. So you guys, just be aware of that it's kind of ironic how the summers are actually the worst weather and then the winter is the best weather.
Yeah, the summers cool off, which is
nice. Summers are interesting for sure. So next year we're going to do a little travel during the summer to get away from the rainy season. But we have a guy coming down that's going to be doing kind of mini boot camp with us for a couple weeks, and we're really going to give him the immersive experience. And he's coming in May, so May is a great time to come down as well. Basically, up until probably like late June. Anytime before that, you're going to have a fantastic time. Get to go out. Dating's obviously the best because you can show up in freaking t-shirt and nice pair of pants. Like you don't got to wear a coat or anything like that. Us skinny guys, we got to show off what we got. So coats are a no-go, but yeah, and Amir, shout out to you again. Yeah, the same was in London. The horrible, depressing, man, bro. It's
last time I was in London, we got a week of sunshine. That is an amazing city when the sun's out. Only time I've ever seen the sun in London. Kind of when I go to San Francisco too. Always, I'm gonna go see the Golden Gate Bridge. Always foggy. Still haven't seen sunshine in San Francisco.
Yeah, I went to Texas last year, and it was like the 1 week where it wasn't hot. I was like, oh, dude, I would live here all the time. But it was 1 week, and then the rest of the time it's like cooking. So anyway, that kind of is just kind of a brief summary of some of the things you're going to get to experience coming down to Mexico. Obviously, we're going to do more talks where we dive into each one of these more specifically because there's a lot we can cover. Spartan Existence, good to see you again. Recognize your name when we used to stream regularly. So good to have you here. So now let's move into more of the fun, the juicy stuff, the dating, right? Why you guys are coming to this channel, why you guys even are considering maybe coming to Mexico, or if you're already here, why you're watching this video. So what are some of the things, Jaron, that we've seen from guys who have dated here?
Most guys have to get out of their own way when they come here. So they've had maybe less than ideal experiences in the US. A lot of guys, it doesn't even really matter what country you're from or what race or ethnicity or background you come from. A lot of guys get in their head like, oh, well, women don't want me because I'm XYZ. We had a guy, I think he was like a neurosurgeon from a Nordic country. And he's like, oh, but I'm actually like Persian by blood. And it's like, I didn't even know because the country he's from, like, I don't know what those people look like. I've never been there. It's like, I just assumed he was from that country. But he had convinced himself that, he had convinced people like, I can't have success with women because of XYZ reasons. I'm like, dude, you're a European neurosurgeon. Like, just say you're European.
I remember him. Yeah,
I remember him. Yeah, the girls are gonna like you here. But I mean, pretty much any guy we've ever worked with, they convince themselves that, oh well, I can't get women because of XYZ reasons. So we really have to help them get out of their own way. Once they do that, you realize there's opportunities all around you. Like, these women are interested in foreigners. You just have to remove your own mental blocks and put yourself out there, literally physically present yourself face to face with them, and then just not screw things up. So a lot of the coaching I do, at least one-on-one with my guys, it's there's superior ways to go about dating. There's specific sequences and there's specific stages and phases. You need to know where you're at, and then based on what sort of feedback you get from her, where to adjust your pivot points and how to go. Like we'll give you that entire framework. But once you have that locked in, a lot of stuff's the mental stuff. Just, hey, I'm an attractive option. Why wouldn't women like me? And going back to the entitlement thing, I find myself saying that some of the internal self-talk. Oh, I used to be a fat kid, I can't do that. Or, oh, well, I'm not a millionaire. Or I don't have the six-pack, although I do have a six-pack year round now, and I'm well on my way to being a millionaire. But this negative self-talk of why you can't be successful with women. And then now I've had so much success that, again, even when I go back to the US, I don't really get mistreatment from women anymore, because I think I carry that positive attitude in that dating / relationships with women bucket in my life across the border to wherever I go, and they pick up on that energy. So I think a lot of times for guys coming down here, it's really just unlearning some of the bad habits and negative self-talk that you picked up in your home country. And then down here, you realize everyone's pretty chill. You just kind of do what you want to do. And it's a massive city, the 22 million, I think is official estimate, but I'd venture to guess it's up to 30 because there's a lot of unincorporated areas on, well, it's dark now, I can't see on the other side of the mountains and whatnot, but there's so many options here, and you live such just a fun, happy, free, fit, just in general superior lifestyle. And again, for not as much money as you would necessarily need to shell out in your home country. And as a consequence of that, you're going to be in a better mood. You're going to be happier. When you're happier, it turns out you attract women a lot easier. So I think really the biggest thing that I've learned, because obviously when you enter a coaching client relationship, you do learn a lot from your clients too. What I've learned, there's guys that show up, and most of the guys we work with are already solid. I know that. I can see their value, but they can't see it. And if they can't see it, the women can't see it. So that's really, again, when I work with my guys one-on-one, Joel and I help guys in different areas, but we kind of tag team the effort. A lot of times it's like, hey, bro, you're the shit. How do you not see this? And just drill that home. And then they start getting success with women, and they're like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I'm pretty cool. I'm all right. You know,
I'm a likable guy, unlike what I've thought my whole life. Like, because people,
yeah, right.
people treat you here. And so, Jaron, that I totally hear you, and I think to play little devil's advocate here, like, I think easier said than done, right? Now you got to like learn that you're great, you know, overcome those mental blocks, but that takes time and effort, right? That's not something you can just do in like, you know, sit down for watch a YouTube video, right? So what are some of those practical steps guys can start taking to really start to shift that mindset?
Yeah, so that a lot of that's about identity formation. So if you sign up with us, depending upon whatever level of services that you start off with, some of the higher tier packages, we'll give you access to a course. It's retails at just shy of $1,000, but that's an entire comprehensive framework. I structured it like a college level course. So the first few modules, we don't even talk about dating. It's about creating a new identity for yourself. A lot of guys come and say like, hey, what are you looking for? Oh, I just want to get better with women. Well, what does that look like? Well, they don't know. Okay, well, how are you going to be successful if you can't define success? So again, a lot of that's kind of mindset stuff. You guys, if you're a little bit out of shape, you know, I'll help you trim up. Style, like, I'm not a fashionista by any means, but like I can at least like put an outfit together, and to the point where actually last time I was in LA, Joel, you were with me, multiple compliments on outfits. I'm like, oh, I'm getting compliments on outfits in Los Angeles. Like, yeah, like that's pretty cool. And really it's just kind of holding their hand or holding the bike seat as they're riding with their training wheels, and then eventually getting to the point where they can just kind of cruise on their own is what we primarily help guys out with. But the first few steps, it's getting down here, it's getting oriented, getting accustomed to the new culture, to the new sights, sounds, smells, all of the sensations, helping out a little bit with Spanish. We go back and forth that you don't really need Spanish here, especially with the upper middle class girls and above. But if you want to have deeper, more profound relationships, or you want to be able to be successful with any type of girl, whether she speaks Spanish or not, obviously, if you live in a Spanish speaking country, learning Spanish is going to give you a leg up on the competition. Me and my twin, everything literally equal, zero Spanish, and I speak perfect Spanish. Guess what? I'm going to win every time. So, so we help guys with that, but it's really just getting them kind of acculturated, getting them adjusted to the new lay of the land, helping them see their value, helping them present themselves. So I'm an online digital marketing consultant by trade in my professional life. I've done that for roughly 20 years. So, and guys, when I help you with your online profiles, we are literally creating an inbound demand gen funnel. We are creating a lead generation system. And when you set up your Instagram, your dating profiles, we are building a website. We're putting together a landing page. We're putting together ad sets. So I structure it exactly like I would a digital marketing campaign, with the product being you as the experience. So that's what I primarily help guys with. Again, just really getting out of their own way, and then just peeling back the layers and then fast tracking them. Things that have taken me 20 years to learn in Mexico, just getting them up to speed, usually 90 days or less. A lot of our guys are premium products. They last for 90 days or so. A lot of guys don't even need the full 90 days. They're usually up and running within a few weeks, which I think it's a bragging point there.
That's what you want. Yeah. You want to, you know, again, that's why we work with the guys we work with, because they're able to learn quickly and start to make it their own. We obviously give you a great foundation to start, but we encourage you to create your own, you know, path. I mean, that's what both of us did. Like, you know, I hired my first dating coach, opened a credit card I didn't have money for. It was like $3,500, had 6 sessions. It was actually didn't even get the right person. Oh, looks like we have a poker night, so someone's coming to play some poker. But anyway, so where was I here? So yeah, we want to get you guys off and rolling as quickly as possible. I think some practical ways to work on this is, well, really, it's kind of facing that fear, facing those pain points, right? Rejection is a huge one for a lot of guys. The fear of rejection, the fear of going up to a pretty girl and getting pepper sprayed or getting put on TikTok or any of that crap that you see on TikTok.
It's not going to happen here.
Not going to happen. Or smile at you, or they'll just ignore you, walk away. Like that's the worst case scenario, right? And starting to face that, you start to rewire your thoughts and how you see yourself, because you realize that all these things I thought about myself and how women view me, you start to not see that anymore, and can be a bit of a paradigm shift, and actually can be almost a bit painful. Like there's this thing like fear of success, right? Fear of having to face what it's like to be a successful person if you've come from a background where life has been difficult for you. You know, I think we have a comment from Art of Will. I'm not sure if what your race is, but race is a factor. Absolutely, it's still going to be a factor here. Being Korean, like
our friend group looks like the United Nations. Like we noticed last night, as me and a Russian guy were like, "Oh, we're the minority at this table."
Totally, yeah.
And we all do well.
So being Asian, like, you know, there's going to be women that don't want Asian guys. Like there's just they're not attracted to, and that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with it. There's girls that I like, that there's girls that I'm not attracted to certain hairstyles, right? It's never personal, right? So you start to learn to overcome those inner blocks and beliefs, and it's a constant process, right? So it's not like a one and done thing. You know, I'm still working on myself, my inner self-talk, my monologue. I got my journal right here. Like I journal regularly. I'm always kind of trying to work out certain bugs I have. I'm kind of like, it's like updating a computer, right? You just want to adjust the code and make it a little sharper each time, and then you get these upgrades, right? And this is one of the coolest parts about dating, and especially in dating in a place where you can have success, because you get to have those frequent upgrade periods where you're like, okay, this new challenge I have to tackle. Okay, maybe I'm starting to want to date all 10s now, or excuse me, 9s, because there was no 10. I want to date a bunch of 9s, and I'm getting rejected by a lot. But then you start to succeed in that, and it's just like an awakening. You're like, holy crap, like you step into a new version of yourself. The world starts to behave differently towards you, and you behave differently towards others. It's an incredible process. It's actually quite addicting, to be honest. It's like, I love that, you know, kind of back and forth. The downs can suck. It feels like, oh, this is it. I'm always going to be here. But what you realize is that your lows are always your previous highs. So my low I have today was what I prayed for 26 years, right? So it's like, I think remembering that gratitude that you get the opportunity to have this experience in dating and get to level up and become a better version of yourself. So, you know, God, it's so
let's start
awesome,
wrapping, because I think there's people showing up here.
Is there? Oh, you can let them in. I told them to.
Okay,
come back up. Yeah. So, guys, I mean, we could talk for hours about just all the great things that come from dating in Mexico. I love it. I'm going to stay here. I plan to stay here for a long time. I hope to meet some of you guys if you've come across the channel and you want to come down and get to experience the experience. Let's see. Again, yeah, we work with a specific type of guy. So if you fall into that category, or you're making around the 90+ K range a year, we definitely invite you to schedule a free call with us. You can do it within the link below at mexpatdating.com. We'll hop on it's about a 40-minute call, and we'll kind of just assess where you are and what you might need some help with and what you want for your dating goals, because that's what's most important. What I want is different from what Jaron wants. What Amir wants is different from what Jaron wants, or from what I want, right? So we all have different goals in our dating life, but we can all start at the same place and build a similar foundation that's going to give us this the start to success, right? And that's what we're here to help you do. Get off the ground and running. Help you if you do come down to Mexico. We do one-on-one 2-week long consultations here, where you come down and we're with you for the full 2 weeks. We just spend a ton of time with you. We get you acculturated to everything you need to know. And so we're really excited to meet some of you guys. Again, you can schedule that call down below. And, you know, there's one more part I want to talk about, Jaron, and then we can call it a day. And that is the dating trajectory always linear? This is a question that popped up in my head today, because I'm somebody that likes growth. I'm somebody that likes to be going like this with my life, with my bank account, with my relationships. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's like the stock market. It goes up and down. If you guys are in crypto, we had a huge crash today, obviously, but it's going to go up, right? The market's just correcting. So what have you noticed with your dating life being linear or?
The way mine works, and what I've always told guys too, is your game always gets ahead of you. So you'll realize you'll start doing little things in the day to day, and then you realize that, okay, not only am I not having problems with the women where I maybe had problems with before, but I'm having success with higher caliber, higher quality women, and that constantly remains true to where. So let's say you're used to dating sixes, and like, oh, they want to date sevens, then eights, and then nines, and then I've gotten to the point where it's like, turns out for me personally, the hotter the girl is, the easier she is for me to get. I have problems with the girls that maybe are right on that kind of cusp between like, oh, okay, yeah, is she attractive or not? Like, oh, she seems cool, so I'll still hang out with her. Your game always gets ahead of you.
Cool ones that never work out.
Yeah, things like, oh, I can't believe, like, I'm a serial monogamous. I can't even imagine having multiple girlfriends. Not only is it possible, but it's actually easier. It's easier to have multiple girlfriends than it is to have a single girlfriend. So you do have the ups and downs. Joel's alluded to it before. There's always a recalibration period where I've mentioned it to it before. I've come out like, have a girl come over, and then all of a sudden I'm just not into her. I'm growing personally, and then I would have seen it before as a rejection of me, but no, she's rejecting my energy because I'm no longer attracted to that type of woman, and they will just find their way out of my life and create space for what I am looking for to enter my life. And then you also mentioned a couple minutes ago, there's ups and downs, just like my career, just like finances, just like fitness, just like anything in your life that you deem relatively important to you, and you actually set some time and effort aside to actually improve in those areas, you'll realize that there are ups and downs. So for me personally, in any vertical of my life, my current down points are still higher than my highest highs 20, 30 years ago. So that is to be expected in dating. Like Joel mentioned, I think crypto, that's a good analogy there. Things go up and down, but what we want to look at is the trend line over the longer term, and dating is no different. And that's what most of our guys find. That's what I found myself.
Yeah, man. God, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's like, it's so important to kind of coming back to the whole earlier topic about humility and stuff. Like, yeah, it's never linear, right? There's going to be highs and lows, even if you come down here, and we want to give you guys an honest appraisal of what's going to come here. The pros are, in the hundreds. Like, I can tell you that, like, you're going to have a completely different experience in dating in the Western countries. That is a promise to you. But you are going to have some tough moments. You're going to have some moments where you face yourself. You have the moments where you face your past. I think relationships are the biggest catalyst to interchange. Actually, if I always thought like, okay, it's monk mode, right? I got to go be by myself in a cave for 10 years. That's how I'm going to grow the most. But the key to growth is actually in relationships, because people reflect to you things that you might not like about yourself. They might reflect things that conversely that are positive. So that's where relationships come in handy too. But a lot of times, getting triggered, right? A trigger just means that you recognize something in someone else that you also do. So, and you get that a lot in dating, especially when you start to build longer relationships where you're seeing a girl for maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months plus. You're going to have stuff come up, and the whole, let's just say, space about being a Superman. I'm not even going to say the word because I don't want to get fucking this podcast demonetized, or not even demonetized, but just shadow ban. That stuff starts to not work because you're like, dude, I actually have to like relate to this person as a person. And if you're a guy that's been watching those videos for the last 10 years, it might be a difficult switch for you. So but again, that's why we're here to help you. We're here to help you kind of start to humanize some of the stuff you learned on the internet. That's where I started off. I watched all those shows like religiously, and then realized like, oh, if I think about women as being X, Y, or Z, 3-0, whatever, I don't get very many dates. Now in the States is a little different because, you're in Miami or you're in those bigger cities where the whole what women look for is different. But when you come to a traditional country like Mexico, where women actually care about how you behave and who you are as a person, you realize you can't get away with that bullshit anymore. So there's a growth period there. And, I think let's do another podcast soon about kind of some of this topic itself, because I think it's fantastic. We'll get our friend Andy on. He's a huge dater in Poland, super big into psychology.
I traveled to Poland with him. Yeah, we can share some stories.
thing, right? He's a wealth of knowledge, and other guys too, like Chris Busy coming myself. He just we had a podcast with him, and yeah, shout out to you, Spartan. Stop watching porn. Huge. Oh, RP. Okay, I gotcha. I thought you actually meant for it. Huge if you did that too, but yeah, the RP stuff, get rid of that. And yeah, we just want to say, dude, guys, we appreciate you all coming in, dude. Like this has been a great stream. There's been so much engagement. It's great to be doing this again. We haven't done this in a few months, so we're like, oh, what's this going to be like again? And it's just a blast. So, Jaron, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for walking out of your room.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, refer to your friends, leave comments down below. I already said that I'm being redundant. Hit us up on our socials and visit maxpatdating.com to schedule your free strategy consultation.
Yeah, thank you guys. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop that below. Hit us up on Instagram, and we can do like maybe a specific stream. If any of you guys want to come on too and just chat about, you know, your experience dating in the West versus traditional countries, let us know. Would be happy to have you on and have a conversation. And otherwise, yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Adios.
Cheers.
All right.